The Gulf of America? So, will the Gulf of Mexico soon be renamed? President-elect Donald Trump's proposal to call it the Gulf of America is stirring debates on history, identity, and international relations. This isn't just about a map update. It's a move that could have wide-ranging effects on our economy, culture, and even diplomacy. So why make this change now, and what's driving the idea behind it? The Gulf of Mexico stretches along the southern U.S., touching states like Texas, Louisiana, and Florida, but it also borders Mexico and Cuba. It's a region rich in history, culture, and natural resources. For the U.S., the Gulf is an economic powerhouse. Its waters are home to thriving fishing industries, vital shipping lanes, and a massive offshore oil presence. Just think about how much of our daily lives, like the seafood we eat or the gas in our cars, can be traced back to this region. So why is Trump calling for a name change? According to him, the Gulf of America better reflects the U.S.'s dominant role in the region. He argues that since the U.S. has jurisdiction over roughly half of the Gulf and shoulders much of the economic and environmental responsibilities, the name should reflect that ownership. It's also seen as a political move, tied to his stance on immigration and trade with Mexico. Trump has repeatedly emphasized the need for stronger borders and fairer trade agreements, and this proposal seems to fit into that broader narrative. But here's where things get complicated. Mexico also depends heavily on the Gulf, not just for resources, but as a symbol of its own history and culture. For centuries, it's been a shared space, connecting these nations through trade and migration. Renaming it the Gulf of America could be seen as dismissive of that shared legacy, sparking tension between the U.S. and its neighbors. Mexican officials have already voiced their disapproval, pointing out that this proposal could strain diplomatic relations further. And it's not just about politics. Think about what this could mean for people who live and work along the Gulf. From shrimpers in Louisiana to oil workers in Texas, the Gulf isn't just a name, it's a livelihood. Would changing the name impact industries or the way we think about this region? For example, would tourism along Mexico's Gulf Coast take a hit if the name no longer reflects its heritage? It's hard to say, but it's a question worth considering. Then there's the historical angle. The Gulf of Mexico has carried this name for centuries, dating back to early Spanish explorers in the 1500s. Over time, it's become a term steeped in cultural and historical significance. Renaming it might feel to some like rewriting history, but others see it as a natural evolution, a way to assert America's identity and influence in a changing world. Let's not forget the logistical hurdles. Changing the name wouldn't just involve a quick edit on Google Maps. It would require agreements with international bodies, revisions to countless documents, and updates to educational materials. That's not even touching the potential backlash from countries and communities that share ties to the Gulf. It's a huge undertaking, both practically and politically. But what's really at the heart of this idea? For Trump, it seems to represent a push for greater national pride and influence, part of a broader strategy that includes ideas like acquiring Greenland or taking control of the Panama Canal. These moves are bold, controversial, and undeniably aimed at reshaping America's role on the global stage. The question is, do they strengthen the country's position or create unnecessary conflict? And that brings us back to you. What do you think about this proposal? Does renaming the Gulf make sense as a way to assert American identity? Or does it risk alienating our neighbors and rewriting history in a way that doesn't sit well? It's one of those topics that hits on so many levels: politics, economics, culture, and even personal identity. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. At the end of the day, this isn't just about geography. It's about what names mean to us, the stories they tell, and the values they reflect. Whether the Gulf of Mexico becomes the Gulf of America or stays the same, the conversations we're having now highlight just how much these symbols matter. Thanks for being part of the discussion, and I'll see you next time.